Hello, good evening everyone. Good evening class and good evening students online. So I am here for the discussion of geography questions from GS paper 1, which has just been concluded. I think paper 2 has also been almost done now. Aspirants would be coming out. So here I have come to a conclusion that the questions, the topics which we covered in the class, majority of them have come in the examination. Now this actually makes us more brave, it actually makes us more confident that okay, whatever we are studying that is useful, we can utilize that in our examination conditions as well. So that confidence it actually provides us, and that is actually wonderful. So I am happy for that. I am happy for you all that you can actually get that confident from the class discussion. So we will take up each question from geography. But before that, let me discuss this, that every year they have been constantly asking 7 to 8 questions from geography. It makes up around 100-110 marks only from geography questions. This time also 7 questions directly from geography, and 1 question which you can say also related to society as such. It has, or 2 questions as such, it has lot of interlinkages, but otherwise the questions have been quite straightforward. So let me tell you this. Acha, anybody online student? I am Dr. Kapil. Let me introduce myself. I am a faculty of geography optional NJS at SRIRAM IAS. So yes, let's start our discussion then. Now in this, let me tell you one thing, that in examination the nature of questions which we have seen till date, it can be either static, very basic, very straightforward questions, or it can be say from current affairs, an event which has been quite in news, or it can be very applied or say hybrid type of question, very hybrid type of question. That is the nature of geography questions all along what we have seen in past many years. Now this year what I can say is the questions have come, majority of questions have come from static portion, right, like auroras, like cloud burst, and these are all the things which we have discussed already in class, of course. Now the current affairs, probably they haven't asked question directly from that, but I am very sure that even in those static questions you can use your current affairs there as an example, as a case study. Yes, please do come join. So yes, these current affairs you can actually incorporate in your answers very well, which will make your static questions answer easy, settle down, which will make your static answers very well, or say dynamic as such. And then there can be some applied or say hybrid question where you need to be very much applied. Yes, for example, birth rate wala question. Now let me tell you, this has been quite a learning curve for all of us, that when we study or when we learn something, whatever we go through our syllabus, we actually pick up the main word or the most prevalent word for that topic. For example, tornadoes. But UPSC has just a little bit of say surprise here, that it has asked what are twisters or what is a twister. Now tornadoes are called as twisters colloquially, there locally it is known as twister. Now whenever something happens there, they use this term twister, and also tornadoes all along. So one learning. Learning two is we keep using low birth rate even in India, even in developed countries, but they have also called it as demographic winters, which has been quite used in the current affairs, or say in news here and there, in news analysis you will get this word demographic winters. So this is how they have changed. My guess was that there would be lot of interlinkages like last year, but yes, it has been asked only in 2 questions. Utna zyada nahi hai, but yes, these things actually make the geography very dynamic, very beautiful and very interesting subject. Yes, so again this time 100 more than 100 question marks you can actually do it from geography. Probably you have taken my GS classes, she is actually taking. So you can tell me all these questions you can do it from the class discussion. Yes, all of it. Probably the human geography which is yet to be taken, but yes, all of the question you can solve it from the class discussion. And let me tell you, I am very happy as a teacher that you guys will receive lot of confidence by looking at this question paper. Okay? So one by one I'll start to discuss that, but before that let me tell you, in answering geography questions, as I have spoken in GS classes every now and then, that diagrams, maps, flowcharts, example, case studies, data, these are the languages of geography. So we need to keep using them again and again wherever we get a chance. It will make your answer very beautiful, non-monotonous, very well received, very much visible. So that is why I keep saying it, please use examples and case studies, diagrams, maps etc. in your answers. So we will start with this. Okay, I don't use PPTs, but for today's class I will be using, because this is something you need today. I will be sending it on my channel also, so that even after the class you can get it. Now the first question we see here is, what is sea surface temperature rise? How does it affect the formation of tropical cyclones? 10 marks, you have to write it in 150 words. Here the question is very simple, don't read it, just I will explain, don't worry. Now what happens here is, sea surface temperature rise, probably you have to first find out what are the demands of the question. So first very visible demand, that is, what is sea surface temperature rise? Then how does it affect the formation of tropical cyclone? So how it is affecting the formation of tropical cyclone? These are the 2 demands of the question. When you understand the demand of the question, that means after the introduction you will be able to write the body very well, right? So these are the 2 demands, that's what you have to address. Very easy it becomes. And this is, let me tell you, this is a very static question. Here examples you can use is from current affairs, right? Now do not confuse it with ocean warming as such, because ocean warming is another concept where the whole ocean is getting warmer and warmer. Again, this might have to do with the sea surface temperature rise as well, but do not talk about ocean warming in general. No, ocean warming is from up to bottom, from top to bottom, the ocean is getting warmer. But when we talk about sea surface temperature rise, sea surface temperature is to do with the say few centimeters to say few feet, that's it. It's not very deep. It's not very deep. Chalo, this you understand, right? So sea surface temperature is the rising of temperature of just few feet or few centimeters or say few meters of the oceanic water as such. Now here you will see that SST rise refers to the increase in the temperature of the ocean's water, primarily due to climate change and the accumulation of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Be slow, it's live. Okay, settle down. Yeah, settle. Okay, fine, no problem. Greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Over the past few decades, SSTs have been consistently higher than the historical averages. Like in February 2024, it was around more than 21 degrees Celsius, which is quite high. For oceans, it is quite high, the highest ever, with significant implication for global weather patterns and climate system like increased frequency and intensity of tropical cyclone. Now when you read this introduction, you find that this introduction is very contextual, What does it mean? That means if you hide the question and you just read the introduction, you will be able to guess what could have been the question में समझ में आ रहा है that okay, something about SST has been asked and also something about to do with the climatic condition or say tropical cyclones as such. This makes a very good introduction. Probably you can give another data, for example IPCC data, you can give some other data or you can give some other example. So probably more or less what you can write in the introduction is this. This makes the examiner understand that you understand the demand of the question very well. You are not confused. You are going to answer the question on spot. Yes? Now, in body, I'll start the body. Causes of sea surface temperature rise. Now, this has not been asked, but I have just written it here. Why? Because you can always mention it through a diagram. For example, एक ऐसा diagram बनाया. Why SST is rising? One, because of greenhouse gases. The other, because of oceanic sink. It is oceanic sink, right? Because it absorbs lot of carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas. Yes, again, ocean acidification is another concept there. Then natural variability, for example, say El Nino. Now, इतना लिखना नहीं था आपको. This is here just to make you understand that these are the content here, what you can actually think of. Now, इतना छोटा सा बनाना था आपको. That's it. This small you have to create just a diagram, and because this is not asked, this is not the main demand of the question, but you have just made it through a small diagram just to tell the examiner कि भाई साहब, I know things, but yes, I don't have time, I don't have enough pages, and that's why I am mentioning it in just small words. Understand it. He'll also understand, she'll also understand. Yes, yes, you know your content very well. Now, not the main demand of the question. Then just a small like this, you can also write what are the conditions required for tropical cyclones. Only then you will be able to relate how SST is a very, very big condition or requirement, or hot SST, right, is requirement of tropical cyclone. So either mention this or that. I am just giving you enough content so that I have always, kept my word on this, that there is no one model answer as such. There can be many. So probably I am going on those lines. You see, you can write this, you can write that, you can write that, and probably you can incorporate lot of ideas from this discussion. That's it. This is what I am trying to do. So, good evening Indu, Deepeksha, good evening Saras, good evening, okay, Shweta, Namde, good evening, ABS, okay, hello, hi. Chalo, welcome everyone, welcome. Probably just keep listening to the discussion and you will get things. Now, this is another map what you can use. Another map. Now, I am not saying all of this you should make. I am saying any of this you can actually, take it from my discussion and you can use it there. Or you might have thought of these diagrams also earlier. So yes, you were right. If you were thinking on these lines, you were right. Now, effects on tropical cyclone formation. That is the main demand of the question, right? SST, so you have just mentioned it there. Again, fill the demand of the question. But the main demand of the question is effects on tropical cyclone formation, right? What it can be. The first demand was, or the first requirement is, sea surface temperature must be quite hot. It should be quite warm. Only then this engine of tropical cyclone starts, right? Only then the engine will start. Now here the formation requirement, it needs around 27 degrees Celsius of temperature, or say 26.5 degrees Celsius of temperature, right? Ji, sahi baat hai. Now, so this is one requirement, so it is actually affecting, or say you can say here the increased frequency it can have because of this. Because earlier the sea surface temperature, it was not so hot, but nowadays it is very frequently hot. So there is a very high chance that there would be more number of cyclones. So probably you can mention, now I am not mentioning here, this is your job to do, that you can mention the data. For example, there have been 52% increase in cyclone in Bay of Bengal and say Arabian Sea. There have been increased by 4-fold in Arabian Sea by, if you look at the number of super cyclones. Hanji, yes. So this is how you can go about it. This is how you can go about it. Now, intensity and destructiveness. Intensity and destructiveness. Warmer SSTs contribute to increased cyclone intensity. Now, SST is suggesting if this temperature rises, it's not increasing the frequency. That means it's not only increasing the number of cyclones, but also their intensity, their strength. Now, if you see, you look at the Amphan, you look at the Taukte, you look at the Michuang, they are quite strong cyclones. That means super cyclones formation is getting increased in numbers. So intensity is higher because there's hot surface which will keep providing the moisture for continuous period of time because it is not cooling down. So lot of moisture it will be providing. Then size and expansion also. If the supply of moisture would have been lesser, it would be a lesser expansion. But if the supply of moisture is so great, don't you think it is going to create a very large and very strong also. So this is again another effect, and these are all the things which we can actually think of from our common sense only. Okay, what are these things which we can actually do, and these are the things, the conditions which we have discussed in the classes as well, right? Changes in storm tracks. Now over a period of time, if these cyclones are becoming very intense, very strong, very frequent, don't you think even after making the landfall, they are not about to end, or they are not about to conclude? Why? Because they still have lot of energy. So probably they can enter in deeper parts. They can also take some other route because they have lot of energy. So wherever they want, they can travel. They have enough energy to travel very much inside the land. So all those areas which were quite untouched before by such cyclones, now they are also getting affected. So yes, again another. Then increased precipitation, obviously because of higher moisture, higher temperature. That means it has lot of capacity to absorb the moisture. So wherever it will fall, lot of precipitation, which can also cause floods, flash floods, cloudburst conditions can also occur, which is again a question this time. Then how to write a conclusion. So these are the demands more or less what you should write here. In conclusion, I haven't written anything just because I know we can have multiple type of conclusion as we have already discussed in the class. ऐसे हम करते हैं discussion class में, multiple types of conclusion, multiple types of introduction, and you should not see at one of the model answers and saying this is the only model answer and I was not able to close myself here onto this answer. So you should not be afraid. Now in conclusion, it should be applied, solution based, disaster management ki taraf you can go. So this is about sea surface temperature. So don't you think you can also talk about India's IMD's efforts? It has been installing radars and say satellites just focused on the tropical cyclone formation and their tracking. For example, Gagan. Yes. Or you can also talk about, if this is the case, in the wake of global warming and climate change, as IPCC suggested, 6, that 1.1 degrees Celsius temperature has been increased. So we need to be more focused on managing these cyclones. More focus should be given on pre-disaster management, on coastal development, community development, their enhancement, yes, mocks, drills, all those things where we can actually go. Or any suggestion from you? What you thought to write in conclusion in this question? Yes?
Government and world leaders come together to reduce the greenhouse gases through various organizations like UPSC, like COP26.
See, you are right. You are just gone towards government policies as such, fine. But probably I would say try to come towards the policies and institutions or say initiatives taken for disaster management. For example, you might have heard of Sendai conference. Yes?
Yes.
You can mention it here. They have mentioned it. Or say cyclone disaster ke liye all this Indian Ocean rim countries, they have actually gone for it. Their cooperation. So yes, international cooperation can be. So yes, you can go towards that. But you should not just mention a government policy. Try to live with the geography. Because just mentioning the policy might become very like paper 2. That thing you should take care of. Yes, anyone else there? Okay, so Mariam is also there. Okay, fine. Now, next question is, why do large cities tend to attract more migrants than smaller towns? This is the first demand of the question. So I can say this is the first demand, why large cities attracting more migrants. That is the one demand. Discuss in the light of conditions in developing countries. Now, this is just a statement written. Now, in this statement, what you should do, it is not something that you start talking about developing countries as such, but be sure that, or be conscious about it, that whenever you give examples, whenever you talk about say any kind of migration, it should not be like that, say people have gone to London or say Tokyo is such a big country, it attracts so many people, right? No, because they are quite developed countries. Yes, Canberra is such a big city, attracts many tourists, attracts many people there. No, it should not be like that. That is something you should be careful about, right, while writing the answers. Your examples must be coming from these developing countries cities. Okay, chalo, fine. So here, how can I start? Probably as of 2020-21, it's quite old data because it was there, but it can be say renewed. Over a third, that is more than 33% of the people living in urban areas had migrated from somewhere else. That means they are living in the urban areas, but they have come from say smaller cities and say rural background. Now, it can be because of many economic, social, political infrastructure, etc. There can be many reasons, especially in developing countries. So yes, I just put it there so that it gives a context that we are talking about developing countries. Probably you can have some other data also. You just find out what data you can use here, and that's how you can start with this question. There's a very famous theory of Lee's push and pull theory. He actually talks about that migration happens not only because there is some attraction or there is some good opportunity in big cities or say cities as such, but it also happens because there are some limitations or say some drawbacks, some negatives in the place of their origin, say in rural areas or say marginalized areas, hilly areas, forest areas. They don't have that much of facilities there. Probably that is actually ailing their population, and that's why they keep moving from here to there. Now here you can use lot of examples. Now see, I'm just trying to mention here that there can be some push factor which can be in nature of say economic, social and political, and there can be some pull factors or say attraction as such for big cities like economic, social and political. Now what can be these pull and pull factors? I mentioned them here. Many types of push and pull factors. For example, leave it here. For example, you talk about economic factors. Just you can read it here, I understand, but try to understand it from say economic point of view. Why anybody wants to go to a big city? Why? Employment is one thing, education, but say economic mode in terms of economic. Employment is one thing, income, say entrepreneurship, business. Now for all of this, can you give examples? Can you give examples? For example, you can say in Bengaluru there are lot many MNCs. Yes, so these MNCs actually give you lot of opportunity to join their companies and have a good employment. You can talk about say Delhi, it has lot many industries around. So these industries actually offer many of the jobs. Keep mentioning here and there, Delhi mein kya hai, Chennai mein, Kolkata mein kya hai, Hyderabad mein kya hai, Pune mein kya hai, like that. Yes, you can do that. Say in terms of economics, in terms of economic push or pull. So try to mention it from two directions. One, the attraction, but your focus should be on attraction rather than on the limitations or say push factors. Push factors पे थोड़ी बात करनी है. For example, write down this. In push factor, these are the things which can be hampering the growth or say their aspirations. That's what you can mention, but in brief. The detail should come on what are the attractions. Then there can be some social attraction. Say for example, educational institutes. Can you give examples? Health is, but in education, what can you give? What examples can you give? Big medical college. So give example like IITs, IIMs, Big universities, central universities generally located in these big cities only. Example दे दिया भाई कि ये हो गया. अच्छा, health के लिए, for example, AIMS is there. AIMS का example दे दो. Medanta example you can give, or say that is in Mumbai. What is Leelavati Hospital? There is, right? So you can, yes, you can keep giving those examples. अच्छा, that is social. अच्छा, in social also you can also mention this. In big cities, the inequalities are very less. So in terms of social inequality, I am not saying income inequalities, it can be very high, but social inequality, nobody asks your caste, religion as such. So it is very much easy to mingle there. So socially you are very much acceptable there. Nobody asks who was sitting there just before you on the metro seat. As soon as you get a vacant seat, you just rush towards that, right? And say someone takes the seat before, you will be so disappointed. What happened? I got late. Do you ever think that the person was from a particular caste or say religion or say region as such? No. So you get my point. So socially also, social mobility is good here. Then infrastructure, roads are better, you know, electricity is not that erratic as say found in the rural areas like that. So infrastructure wise it is also better. So let's move here. Your business is thriving here because of the infrastructure only. Then political reasons also. Say in cities, the rate of improvement, the rate of development because of say political reasons, it has always been higher because it is quite visible here. So they will keep doing things in cities, they will keep changing and developing. But in rural areas, the development takes a lot of time. And there can be some other political reasons like purging, like killing. And in these examples, be careful, do never give an example from India. For example, I can say happening say in Bangladesh, kitni kharab jagah hai. They are killing Rohingyas, their military as such, or say their thing. So they will keep moving towards Kolkata. Can we say that? Yes, and be careful here. Say people getting killed in Baluchistan side, so they will keep coming to Karachi. Yes, do you get my point? Also you can give examples of some other European cities also wherever this happens. War on the rural. Say war usually do not come to urban areas. Generally they keep fighting in the rural or say out fringe areas. For example, Russia, Ukraine. So people will be moved there, they will be forced to move. So this is how it is. So you should write it in these three heads: economic, social, political and infrastructural, right? Infrastructural also, just another factor you can mention here is infrastructure. So in these 3-4 heads you can write your answer very well and keep giving examples. Keep reiterating what you are suggesting. Examples are very important. Probably somewhere if you like in say 15 markers or somewhere you can also give a case study. You see, this is the type of case study we can actually mention here. Cities typically house government offices providing access to administrative services. Yes, you can also mention that. So as an example you can keep mentioning it here and there. Fine. Now I got this map for you just because you can actually make this map, because when you will start thinking about it, you will just keep thinking of Indian cities only. But even if you have not looked at this map, tell me, did you not know some developing countries and their big cities? Yes? पता तो है ना भाई? So just example लिख दो वहाँ पे. Just make these are the big cities, you know, attracting lot of population. Another example or another head can be say tourism. Tourism also. Tourism you can also mention there. Here. Tourism. And tourism has many types, be it medical tourism, religious tourism, right? So that kind of migration also is affected. Now this is a map, good map. For example, you can mention here New Delhi, Bengaluru, Kolkata, Chennai, all these cities of India. Then here Karachi, then Beijing, Kabul, then Nairobi, Sanaa in Yemen, Buenos Aires, Sao Paulo, all these cities, Mexico City, Istanbul, these are all developing countries as such. We haven't mentioned anything from Europe, right? We haven't mentioned say anything from say Australia or New Zealand as such. So this is very deliberate. but they also have lot of problems, right? हो सकता है, why not? But we need to be we need to make sure that we are talking in terms of say in the background of developing countries as such. As soon as you miss that, number कट जाएगा. तो आपको क्या लगता है? Say, let me tell you, there have been a distinction now. कि now we do not call any country as say underdeveloped as such. There are two categories only, developed and developing. But at one point I will also give you another perspective. Now, in conclusion, what you can say that migration towards large and metropolitan cities is leading to say lopsided urbanization, creating issues like slum proliferation, infrastructural strain, poor standards of living for migrants, etc. Now, in that perspective, you need to say that the urbanization and the migration needs to be managed well. If you want to achieve SDGs like sustainable cities wala kaun sa hai? SDG. That SDG you can mention. Yes? So, this is how you can actually go about it. Now, another one is you can also talk about say government policies as such here, or what you can talk about, huh? Yes, but make sure that you also talk about the challenges. It's not only about importance as such, because as an administrator you need to always give some solution, right? So solution needs to come. So please do talk about solution also, because it is 10 markers, so we are not writing it separately. In 15 markers, even if they weren't asked, we should have mentioned it there, right? But yes, it is like that. So this is, and let me tell you, these are very simple things or not. Tell me, at this point in time, have you felt anywhere that I cannot attempt this, I cannot do this? No, you can do this, right? What is the phenomenon of cloudburst? This is what I explained in the class, right? And that too I took some time. We were actually discussing and someone asked, and then I explained, okay, fine, we'll stop that discussion, we'll do this, and then we'll move ahead, right? This cloudburst actually I discussed. Now in cloudburst is, see, there is a technical definition that IMD ne diya hai, that phenomenon with unexpected precipitation exceeding 100 millimeter or say 10 centimeter per hour over a geographical region of approximately 20 to 30 square kilometer. That means in a small area there's a very heavy rainfall in a very short time. You should have written this, but it would be good, it would be better and best if you have mentioned these numbers as well, and probably you write IMD bhai sahab ne bola hai. Yes, so IMD ne bola hai, right? In the subcontinents, if you want to give examples, probably this question has been asked. It's a very static question, but it has been asked. Why? Because every year in India cloudburst are. अभी recent में कुछ बताओ? हाँ? When? 3-4 महीने पहले. अच्छा, what was Wayanad? That was the biggest, and that is why I have given some examples here, so that एक map बनाओ इंडिया का like this. I'll show you later. एक map बनाया इंडिया का, and then you can put these locations there. अच्छा, even if, let me tell you here only, even if you did not know, but Wayanad you should know. Wayanad to at least you should know, right? So Wayanad should be there. Western Ghats में एक दो और area बोल दो. Generally they have faced cloudburst. Then Himalayan states, Uttarakhand and Himachal, keep mentioning their any name, Chamoli, Pithoragarh, ye wo kuch bhi, Kullu, Manali, anything. And if you are sure enough, you can also mention the here. These are the hot spots. So yes, you now make your answer very much contextual, very much on spot. अभी से आगे और क्या लिखोगे? और क्या चाहिए आपको? Nothing. So these are the examples in Uttarakhand, Himachal, and say Wayanad wala example. Wayanad तो is the biggest example you should. In fact, you could have started with the example of Wayanad only. Yes, in recent past we have seen that Wayanad has faced a very, very big devastation because of cloudburst, leading to landslides. Landslides, devastating the whole village as such. Sorry, what did you say?
Due to that cloud slipping, there was a problem of heavy rain. So can we mention that?
That can be flash flood. That can be flash flood, but cloud burst has a different mechanism. If you want to mention that, you can mention in flash floods. See, when cloud burst will happen, it will cause flash flood. It will cause flash flood, right? But flash flood is not cloud burst. Flash flood is not cloud burst. So what is a cloud burst? Suppose, chalo, let me become a teacher, which I am. Now suppose this is a mountain. There are two slopes. Suppose this is the windward slope and this is the leeward slope. Windward means the slope, which is wind facing. Now tell me, if wind is coming toward the slope, don't you think it will rise? Wind is bound to rise because of this slope. So wind will obviously rise because of the slope of this mountain. And this wind has good amount of moisture also. Generally happens in monsoon time only. Monsoon ke time pe we have lot of moisture coming from the oceans. Yes, they are sent into India, Indian low pressure. They are sent. Probably say Western Ghat ka ek slope wahan pe, and then there is the slope of, say what you can do, say you can just any time draw this. Yes, and there are two hot spots, right? There are two hot spots. One hot spot is your western slopes of Western Ghat. Then there is another hot spot, that is the southern slope of Himalayas as such. And there only lot of cloud bursts happen, right? So you can make this map only. Here and there you can show Wayanad, Chamoli, Pithoragarh, Uttarkashi, Kullu, Manali, all these places. You can mention the year also 2020. You for Uttarakhand and Himachal, you can mention any year. Cloud bursts happen every year there. Probably if you can recall the biggest kab tha, then you can do that. ठीक है? Yes, very good. Good evening everyone. Okay, fine. So this is how you can start. बना दिया, पहले ही मैप बना दिया, no problem. अच्छा, now what I was discussing here is this. When a wind full of moisture is forced to rise up the mountain or say along the slope. Now the wind is actually very great. Now it is pushing the air above. Now tell me, as soon as it comes here, as soon as it say come here, the temperature is very low or temperature is getting lower. Now if you can remember the basic concept I discussed with you of relative humidity, that means if temperature decreases, relative humidity increases. Why? Because if relative humidity is, probably you might not get because we need to take that class as of now. Relative humidity is the amount of moisture air has in ratio with amount of moisture it can actually hold at maximum. So tell me the amount it can hold and the amount present, if they are equal, don't you think it is 100%? And when it reaches 100%, obviously it cannot hold anything more, it will rain down. But this is a normal process. But here what is happening is, suppose this air reached here and it made clouds. Now this cloud, or say because condensed, right, this condensed, it became cloud. This cloud is now saturated, say it is saturated. It has eaten so much that its stomach is filled, completely filled. But the wind coming from below, they are so strong, the winds are so strong that it is still pushing the clouds up and the rainfall is not able to come down. the raindrops are not able to come down. So even if they want to come down, they will go up, and then they will make bigger raindrops, bigger water drops they will become, and it will keep pushing. Suppose it came here. Now here it was saturated, here don't you think it becomes super saturated? Now what does this mean? It has eaten so much that it was saying okay, enough. But now you kept feeding him, itna khila diya ठूस ठूस के, after a point it will obviously, yes, vomit. So this is how the cloud will also do. Once, as soon as it reaches above, there the air is rare there above the mountain, now it is stable. Now it says, now I will downpour everything I have, and suddenly whatever it could actually hold, more than that it was holding, so it will downpour like anything, downpour like anything, anything. And this situation is called as cloud burst. This is generally seen in the mountains but can happen anywhere. Say strong convectional winds bhi hain, even then, even they can create such kind of super saturation in clouds, right? But generally happens in, because it is the orographic rainfall. So the kind of, this is kind of orographic rainfall we have taken as an example here. We have taken as an example here, orographic rainfall. Now whenever it will go this side, that is the leeward side, as it comes down, the temperature increases, relative humidity will decrease. So no rainfall, leeward side, rain shadow zone. Now tell me, this is the process which I just told you. You had to explain this in words. Abhi itna banaya na maine, right? So now that's what I have explained here, right? That's what I have explained here. उसी को लिख दो, खत्म. Just show it through a map. लिख दिया. I mean, done, right? No problem. Everyone online, you understand, right? I hope so. Now, consequences is something which has not been asked, but probably through say like this, consequences ऐसे लिख के 1, 2, 3, 4 you can actually show. Or even if you don't want, don't show. No problem. But it can cause say flash flood, as you mentioned, landslide, mud flows, land caving, anything can happen, right? This keeps happening. Now, since this is the type of map I was actually talking about, right? Which actually I made, which I actually draw, right? So this is something you should also do in your answers, right? I have, in every answer, I have used a diagram, I have used a map. It's not only about that I am discussing, say this is the content, this is how should we go. I am also discussing the approach, the flow, the structure, the presentation, what you can have in the, what you can have in your answers. That is going to make your answers excellent answers, right? Now, fine. In conclusion, see, let me tell you, the cloud burst and their prediction is actually very tough. We are still working on that. कैसे पता लगेगा? Different slope, different mountains, different winds going here and there. So their prediction is actually very tough. But we need to work upon that. So you can actually write on that. For example, we have recently put a radar, very advanced radar in Lansdowne. कहाँ? Yes, Doppler radar say in Lansdowne. So Lansdowne में we actually installed that. So you can actually talk about that, or say solution as such, or say solution in terms of say disaster management. Say you can say these, in the wake of global warming, these cloud bursts are actually increasing number because air is actually now having lot of temperature, so it can have more moisture in it, and because of that they are bound to happen, or say they are actually occurring. या तो if you want to actually control them, you need to actually work upon these two things, global warming, climate change, how we can actually manage that. Yes, how we can actually manage that. Yes. So yes, you can go on these lines, Probably you can say these mountain slopes, communities and villages or say areas need to be very much ready for cloudburst at any time, or we can say microzonation we can do. Microzonation mapping, all these areas which have had faced a cloudburst in the past, we need to have very much, we need to have a good guideline for that, or say there is a guideline also. NDMA you can mention here, but the questions are like that. So NDMA you can go about it. So this is how you can actually mention. So probably 3-4 type of conclusion here also you can make. Then what is the concept of demographic winter? Demographic winter. So this is one demand, what is demographic winter? And then, is the world moving towards such a situation? So is the world really moving? So this is the second demand. Now, as I have mentioned, these things we actually discussed. This is a very basic thing. Even if you see in your NCERT it is mentioned, right? But this word, it has been in vogue for last few years. It has been mentioned in many of these newspaper articles, and if you haven't read that, they are actually checking that, right? These new terminologies, whether you know it or not, these have been in news. So whether you know it or not, this is a basic concept. For example, if I say what I can say, a good example for that, for example, if I say I have sent a message. I have sent a message. So sending a message is one thing, yes, you understand. But if someone says, I have texted him, both are same, but probably texting is a new word which you need to know. So probably this is a new word we have started talking, but this is not new, but this has been actually in news. That's what you should have known. That's it. That is the difference there. So just sending a message and texting, right? New terms for the same thing. That's it. So let's understand. Here I am not going to address what is a demographic winter because this is a demand of the question. So let's wait for the body. In the introduction, what you can say? Till now you haven't said anything what is demographic winter, but you have talked everything in terms of that. Now this is a data, very famous data. If you did not know this, then there is a problem. Very famous data. On every topic you prepare some data. I have also talked about how you can prepare it, say in few pages. For every topic, 2-3 things you just need. That's it. And you can keep using it here and there. Everywhere you can use them. So on every topic you need to have that. Or you can talk about demographic transition theory. Demographic transition theory, what does it say? It says every society actually moves from very high birth rate and high death rate to very low birth rate and very low death rate. Every society. Why? Because in initial days when there is no advancement, medical advancement, there is a food shortage, there is a lot of endemic, pandemic going on here and there. So even if people get born, many of them do not survive, they also die. So that's why people tend to reproduce more so that some of them at least can survive. That's why all these dada dadis they used to have lot many children, right? It's not because that it was only because of say backwardness or say illiteracy as such. It was also very evident that arey bhai 10 paida kar lo because 5-6 might be gone, right? 5-6 might be gone. So from that perspective also demographic transition theory, and then mention this demographic winter is actually a next stage of the demographic transition theory where even the birth rate goes below than the death rate. People are dying more and people are getting born less in numbers. So this is called as demographic. This is the low birth rate, right? Now you can actually say what is a demographic winter. So it is, winter refers to a significant and sustained decline in birth rates leading to an aging population and potential population decline. Yes, this phenomenon is characterized by fertility rates falling below the replacement level of 2.1 children per woman. Now it is said that 2.1 is the replacement level. Yes, 2.1, that means there are two parents, right? And if they are giving birth to 2 children, they are replaced. Only then they are replaced and the population will be stable. If they are producing 3, population will increase. If they are producing 1, the population will decrease, because when they will be gone, they have left only 1. So that's what he is talking about. Now, this thing is talking about. per woman, which can result in long-term natural decrease if not offset by immigration. If not offset by immigration, if people are not coming in, then there would be decrease in population. Okay. In many developed nations such as Japan and several Eastern European countries, this trend has raised concern about economic sustainability, shrinking workforce, and may struggle to support an increasing elderly population. Now, when this happens, what will happen? The labor force comes down, their economic participation comes down, GDP growth comes down. Don't you think it is also leading us towards aging population? Because over a period of time, when there are less children, majority of the population will be aged. That's called as aging population. So all these bujurg people, don't you think they are not capable enough to run a country or say run a society as such, and that will lead to another problem. Probably you can also talk about, say, in terms of when there's a word called as geriatrics. When there are a lot of women elderlies, it poses another challenge for their security, for their health, for their safety and security in their surroundings. That's another challenge there, right? So demographic winters, if you want to expand there, you can do, but again, this is not a question of 10 marks ka hai, so don't go far. Now, this is the demographic transition theory. If you wanted, you can mention, say, all these countries, Bangladesh, rainforest, all these Congo valleys wala jo bhi countries hai in Africa, they are actually falling in this. They are still producing lot of children because the death rate is quite high. Now, here in countries like India, countries is almost here, India is here, right? Because it's an old map, so Canada, Japan, US is there, but they have actually gone beyond where the death rate, the birth rate has gone down and the death rate is still up. Death rate is still up. So that means there is going to be population decline. Population decline, it's not only about aging. First to aging hoga and then there will be decline. Because they are not going to live for say 200 years. They will also die, right? So this is a map you can actually extend and tell how the birth rate is declining over a period of time and the death rate is still higher. That means leading towards decline in population overall. You get my point, everyone? Fine. Another example you can make there, that's what I'm saying. Now, is the world moving towards demographic winter? Now, tell me, if you'll think on this, probably you'll think, हाँ भाई, जा तो रहा है. The world population is declining, but if you see 8 billion people crossed. So there are some regions who are actually driving this population growth. There are few regions जहाँ पे population declining हो रही है. So we cannot actually say in one tone that okay, population is declining or increasing. We should actually make a distinction. Probably people have gone for say North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, like that. Don't do that, it will be very much tedious. So actually you should talk about in this term कि developed countries में what are the conditions, developing countries में and underdeveloped countries में. So developed countries में you can also always tell this, the population is declining because the birth rate is very low. People there are very much involved say in that DINK, double income no kids, right? In generally in these urban areas mein, in these big cities, in these big countries, people have actually gone for let's earn more and have no kids. We'll enjoy, we'll have some social security there and we don't need anyone to take care of ourselves. Okay? In our late times, yes, we'll take care of ourselves. But this can happen say majorly in metropolitan cities or say big countries. So there this is declining, but this is not the only reason, there can be many reasons. However, they haven't asked about the reason, so here and there shortly you can talk about. पहली बात कर सकते थे, but the content is later, so I'll discuss it. In developing countries, this is mixed. For example, in India also, is population declining? It is still rising, but the rate of rise has declined. That means over a period of time we are also going to have a declined population, but there's a problem or there's a scenario. All these states are having different patterns. UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, all these are still having higher TFR, but majority of the southern states are having TFR say 1.5, 1.61. This is the latest fashion, right? To have only one child, right? Only one child, because they think that only having one child only, we can actually invest lot more in that child, right? Yes. Now global trends, that's what we have talked. So I have given you numbers here, like what can happen in sub-Saharan. Acha. So this is about the developed countries, and then the underdeveloped countries like sub-Saharan countries, say Pakistan, Nigeria, all these countries, they are still rising, right? They are still having higher birth rate. So it is not a trend everywhere. In developed countries, the trend is yes, they are moving towards demographic winter, and that is why there are a lot of problem. They are also having these policies कि भाई हमारे यहाँ पे आ जाओ. They have immigration, easy immigration policy कि आ जाओ, बसो, right? You can have more children. Yes, in China they have started this policy कि have more kids again, because the Chinese method was a very wrong method. Yes, one child policy, it was a very wrong method. Why? See, you should not mention it here, but I am just telling you for your knowledge. Once you are bound to reproduce only one child, the societies are built in such a manner that they will always go for a boy. Yes, they will always go for a boy. I am not saying this is right, but I am saying what is happening. This is completely wrong. But generally they tend to reproduce one male, say kid. That is a problem, and this can actually hamper your sex ratio, which has been done in, say, China. All these sonography tests and etc., they will keep coming. Illegal hoga, kuch bhi hoga, but they will keep doing that. Okay, so these are the trends. Now, you need to actually talk about India in specific, because you are an Indian. So you need to give that perspective also, what is happening in India. So you can say कि हाँ भाई हो रहा है, probably this will decline very fast, but there's a pattern, and this is something written in very good words. You need to concise that. That's it, right? That's it. What you have to do, because I have to explain this. That's why I've got this in these numbers. Otherwise, fine, right? Now, reason for declining. For example, infant mortality is lesser. So people will say, okay, we'll produce only one children, and that child will actually survive. Economic dimensions ding, just as I just, because now the parents are actually feeling that we are burdened with this responsibility of raising the kids. So let's not have the kids in the first place. आराम से रहो, खुश रहो, मस्त रहो, right? So that is this. Women empowerment. Now women have, postpartum say rights. They also have this right, because if they are empowered enough, they will delay their marriage. They probably might not go for, say, motherhood. They probably might say, okay, only one child. I'm not ready to produce another one, because it takes a lot of toll on their bodies as well, right? So yes, acha. Now, before that, you can also mention somewhere, because this is 10 marker. But if now this is one thing you can mention, or this you can mention, that it will have some negative and positive aspect also. Positive क्या हो सकता है पहले बताओ? What can be the positive? Very good. Resources would be distributed well. The inequality might reduce. Yes, there would be standard of life might increase. Better resource utilization. All these things would happen. But there is negative also. Yes, I am not saying that एक चीज लिखना, probably ऐसे बना दो, right? This is your demographic winter. So what is the positive aspect? What is the negative aspect? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's what you have to just mention, just to make your answer rich, the content rich, right? कुछ किया इसमें आपने? I'm not saying इतना लिखना है. That's why I've just shown you in this keywords. ये ऐसे ऐसे छोटा छोटा कर दोगे, and then your answer will be actually very much attractive. हाँ जी, am I right? All good? बढ़िया. Online, all good? Are you getting what I'm discussing here? I hope so. It seems easy. Very good explanation. Okay. Thank you. Okay, fine. Now, how to conclude? You can conclude, say, I would have concluded in this manner that in the Asia report 2050 suggests, the Asian Development Bank says 21st century belongs to Asia, where a very high possibility of India being a major actor. It emphasizes sectoral and spatial redistribution of workforce, skill development and increase in the work participation rate of women, and all along compensating for the declining share of the working age group in the population. Now, this is one thing you should write, as they are suggesting that this is good for us. But what you can write as an Indian, कि भाई साहब, okay fine, we actually need not to have this population control policy as at all, because there is one big panacea for population control, that is the education, women empowerment, social development. All these countries which are quite developed, yes, probably we can go towards that. And moreover that, we also need to skill our population, which is actually, we are having just numbers, that too in terms of say quantity, but do you really feel that our population is quality? No, because we don't have skills. So we need to skill that. So skill India, stand up India, right? Make in India. I mean, not make in India is not here, but yes, probably you can, because make in India itna ho gaya that we have so much of population. Yes, because of that we have so much of population. But अब make in India नहीं करना है इस मामले में. Okay, fine, whatever we have, let's make it qualitative, right? So this is how you can actually conclude, or say better something, or say you can also talk about the immigration policies of such countries, कि they need to be careful, है ना, while making their policies, because they are now inviting all these people to come in and join their country. But this has also implications. ठीक है? So this is how you can actually talk about, you can actually conclude your answers. Now, the first 15 marker is the groundwater potential of the Gangetic Valley is on a serious decline. How may it affect the food security of India? So that means this is one thing you need to prove. This is a statement that the groundwater here is declining. This is a statement, right? But this statement is just written in light of that. You need to explain how it may affect the food security, that too of India. So this statement only can become a demand, but not that great demand. The great demand is this, but you can also explain this, or you can give some numbers for that. For example, what I have got, it is a basin most populated among the worst water stressed river basins in the world. It contributes to 40% of India's gross domestic product. Ganga basin cultural heritage economic importance बहुत है, which interplay among the crucial factors that make the basin one of the global groundwater depletion hotspot. Why? Because we have lot of population, agriculture, industries, pollution, lot many things, right? So that those are the factors making an interplay here. Now I have just given a data that it has lost around 226 kilometers of groundwater since 2002 to 2016. Around 20 times Indira Sagar के largest reservoir in India है, उसके 20 times we have lost the groundwater of this basin. So this actually number shows the gravity. That's why I say till this point it looked a very good introduction, but just mentioning this or this, it made the introduction excellent. कि what you are just saying, you are also substantiating that. It's not कि हवा में बात कर रहे हो. You also have the numbers, and numbers will always help you. Let me tell you. So be good with numbers, okay? And do not say कि this data is not important, we should not remember, we should not memorize all of it. ये वो ऐसे नहीं करना है, ठीक है? Because then you will be in problem. So do not hate numbers. Try to love numbers, right? As much as possible, try to learn these, try to by heart these numbers. It will be useful. Now, simple map. Now probably in this map I would have made or drawn this Ganga also, है ना? This Ram Ganga, Ghagra, or say the Gomti, Ghagra, Gandak, Kosi, Mahananda, right? Here say Yamuna, Chambal, Sindh, Betwa, Ken, Son, all this Ajay, Punpun, all these rivers I would have made here. That this is just the water resource. Yes, ground to hai hi, but these are the water resources, say in terms of say surface water. Make this map informative. Probably इतना बनाना ही था, just make this much of map, right? इतना बना देते, that's it. Because very specific, very micro map you have created. इतना नहीं बनाना था. You can do this very easy. Good. Now, it has said that this question actually asked about कि over a period of time there has been a decline. There has been a decline in the, just a minute, in the groundwater in the Gangetic Valley. So what can be the reasons for that? Now, the way I have written so many of this, but probably you need to write 3, 4, 5 reasons. Or ऐसे नहीं. Probably you can say groundwater depletion in Ganga basin. Yes. There's one reason, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or make hexagon for 6 reasons. How many reasons you can write? Do not write it like that because it would be very monotonous. So in terms of presentation, this is beautiful. This is very much visible. Make your answer visible. Examiner should not go and look for all of this कि भाई आंसर लिखा क्या है, कहीं तो दिख जाए आंसर. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. Answers must be very much visible to the examiner, right? Answer must be very much visible to the examiner. ठीक है? So what can be that? Over extraction, because for example 80% of India's irrigation water comes from groundwater. So likewise in this valley also, for example we have lot of tube wells, we use lot of water in agriculture practices in the areas say which are not very much have this water resource as such. They are also using lot of groundwater. They are also growing such water guzzling crops like rice, cotton, sugarcane. They didn't need to, but they are doing just because for that MSP मिलेगा अच्छा, और MSP से ज़्यादा मार्केट में डिमांड है उस चीज़ की, राइट? अर्बनाइजेशन, if urbanization you are talking about, make in Ganga Valley, try to, or in this Ganga Yamuna Valley, try to remember how many big cities you know, right? From Delhi, Kanpur, Allahabad, Banaras, Patna, Bhagalpur, all these are big cities, say in this valley only. Lot of population they have. Delhi ke population is more than 2 crore. Lying in this valley only, in this basin only. I mentioned that. You can also make, you should have drawn those cities on the map also. Urbanization, industrialization, Kanpur, Banaras, Patna, Delhi, sab isi pe hai. They are extracting lot of groundwater. Deforestation, we have been cutting down the forest. This area already had very less forest, and that too we are cutting it down. Now this deforestation will not allow the water to percolate down the layers. So groundwater will not be recharged. That's why we have lost 20 times of Indira Sagar. If it would have been recharging well, तो कहाँ loss होता? Use भी करते and there we would be, getting it back again. Climate change, sometimes it droughts, sometimes there's more rainfall. Again a reason. Then we also have groundwater pollution. In this Ganga Valley, say you go to Bengal side, you have lot of say arsenic pollution. So that groundwater is there, but the resource it is not. It has not remain a resource because it is polluted. You can drink the water, a glass of water, if it is clean like this. But say if I make some pollutant in it, it is a waste, right? Yes, drink some water. Sorry? Green revolution, say in terms of agriculture practices you can mention कि how it has promoted water guzzling crops in these regions. So yes, कर दो mention. Now, impact on food security as such, this is the main demand. But before that, we have told examiner किसी भाई मुझे आता बहुत है, but in small words I have told you these things because this is not the main demand. That's why I am not expanding myself here. But examiner knows कि हाँ भाई, this aspirant knows. Good. Now impact on food security. First is reduced agricultural productivity. Why? Because it is a key resource in irrigation in Gangetic Valley, particularly for water intensive crop like wheat, rice, sugarcane. We have been growing this. Tell me, if over a period of time the water resource declines, you are not getting enough water. So how this wheat, rice and sugarcane you are going to grow? obviously their productivity will be down. Shift in crop patterns. Once the water availability is less, suppose say we leave rice and wheat apart, कि चलो भाई नहीं उगाएंगे, then you are going to grow say millets, rice, pulses, all these things you are going to grow. But tell me, these crops, how much you can actually produce for this entire population? The demand is actually too great. You won't be able to produce this much of millets, or say millet थोड़े खा करके हम रहेंगे. We also need wheat, we also need rice, right? So demand complete नहीं होगी. So again, food security. Threat to the green revolution gains for long, है ना? तूफान से लाए हैं कश्ती निकाल के, इस देश को मेरे बच्चों रखना संभाल के, right? So there was a time when we were going, through these famines. We did not have enough to eat, and we had lot of say embarrassment globally. See, they are saying they are agricultural country and they are starving. So it was like an embarrassment. From there, we also ate that PL 480. From there, we started our green revolution. So green revolution started, and then we started gaining on this. We started exporting. अभी बात हुई जब Russia Ukraine, that wheat production would be hampered. We said no problem, we will supply. Right? This is how we have become big. But tell me, if this groundwater keeps declining, you are not recharging that, what will happen? Your whatever gains, whatever good things this green revolution has created, that is the large production of these food crops, it would decline. You will again go back in the 60s, right? In 60s we had this problem. Do you want to face that? No. So if you don't want to face that, you need to take care of this. Then increase farmer distress. On the ground, who is impacted? Farmer only, right? Farmer only. He will be in distress because of the crop failures. He would have to take lot of loans, right? And probably, and say eventually what he does is farmer does suicide, and that is actually a dark spot in our agricultural economy as such. This is something we are not able to control, and every year this happens. Hundreds of farmers do this because of the policies and because of the harsh reality on the grounds as well. So this will also increase because the resource has declined. Yes. Then impact on allied sectors also. All these sectors, for example, say livestock, horticulture, fisheries, they are also dependent on groundwater only, or say on these grains only, these food crops only. उनके पास वही नहीं है, तो all these sectors would be. अब livestock में unit से millet चाहिए था, या फिर से wheat चाहिए था, या उसका residue चाहिए था. You don't have that. So all these sectors will also be impacted, and that too very, very severely. Then way forward has not been asked. So try to give a way forward. Probably I would have given it this, and probably I would have saved it for my conclusion. That's it. Even if you are not asked, you had lot of solution, right? Structural, non-structural solutions. Probably say we need to make sustainable agricultural practices or climate resilient agriculture. Climate change resilient agriculture. So talk on that. You can talk about say organic farming. You can, because that also needs lesser water. You can also talk about how micro irrigation can help you. So agricultural practices need to be. Then the groundwater recharge programs, lot of water harvesting programs, or say all these traditional water harvestings. Yes, surangam, baulis. Yes, bawdi hoti thi. Yes, all these things we have. Tankas in plateau areas. These have been declining. So we need to say rejuvenate them. Good example, you can say that Anna Hazarika, that Ralegaon Siddhi, that village, you can actually give an example of that. Case study bana do usko. Again mentioned in NCERT. So this is how you can enrich your answer. Then कुछ भी लिख दो conclusion में any of this, कोई भी एक point उठाना है, make it a bit comprehensive. And you are talking about say groundwater. So SDGs related to say hunger, poverty, inequality, they can all come into this. You can also mention those. So एक हमने बोला, we have talked about so many conclusions as such. हाँ जी, ठीक बात. Now I am telling you, अच्छा this question, a question which is say very much of current based, है ना, it keeps coming in news. हाँ जी, it keeps coming in news. So from that news point of view, from that current affairs point of view, it can be actually solved very well. अच्छा, what are aurora australis and aurora borealis? How are these triggered? Tell me, did I not spend 2 to 3 class on solar system and all these geomagnetism and all? I explained everything. I don't want to say like I am praising myself, but yes, I explained it in a very great length so that you don't have any confusion. बहुत आराम से बातें हुई थी इस पर. Now probably aurora australis and aurora borealis में you can actually mention here and then you can talk something about it, their areas and all. But how are these triggered should have lot of space in your answers, in your answer. Because aurora australis borealis क्या एक ही चीज़ तो है, एक नॉर्थ में एक साउथ में है, that's it. But more of your answer, most of your pages should be devoted on this, how they are formed, that is triggered. Now in introduction what you can say, that is a significant geomagnetic storm is anticipated triggered by strong solar storm. This occurrence has the potential to supercharge auroras creating a spectacular visual display in the night sky. Auroras consist of streamers of or arches of light that appear in the upper atmosphere primarily around a planet's magnetic polar regions. This is not just a case with Earth, it can happen anywhere. Any planet which has a geomagnetic field that can have aurora. तो आपने ये मेंशन कर दिया, it's not just a unique feature to Earth, it can happen anywhere. Now what are these? As I have mentioned earlier also, when these charged particles from sun keeps emitting lot of these charged particles in form of say solar wind, coronal mass ejections, geomagnetic storm, they keep coming towards Earth, and Earth also has a magnetic field. In this magnetic field we have a sphere called as ionosphere. Yes, ionosphere. This ionosphere is say around 80 to 400 kilometers के range में. This ionosphere has lot of charged particles, right? We have say nitrogen charged particle, oxygen charged particle, hydrogen, helium. So these electron and proton coming say from towards the sun, they are coming from the sun towards the Earth, and when they come and then they are actually captured by the Earth's magnetic field, then they will be diverged toward the poles, and over the poles where the height is lesser, this ionosphere will react with these charged particles. Depending upon the gases, for example nitrogen say react हुआ, oxygen, hydrogen, helium, they will produce multiple colors depending upon which gas they are reacting with, and then they would be captured and then they would be released say through Van Allen radiation belt. And while this happens, it will create beautiful lights there, purple, green, blue, yellow, many, not yellow as such but yes blue. Love you sir. अच्छा जी. Okay, ठीक है. I feel really blessed. Thank you for your love, and this love is reciprocated. Okay. We are having this discussion and you are just, मुझे लगा solar wind आ गया उधर से. Okay, fine. I am also having lot of auroras right now. Okay, that means I am blushing. Okay, fine. Now solar winds causing this north and southern hemisphere पे. अच्छा, this is happening over all these poles मतलब these two poles, north pole and south pole. When this happens over the north pole, this is called as aurora borealis, because in Greek bora means north. This I also explained. In Greek south means australis, that's why they are called as aurora australis. Now they are also called as northern lights, they are also called as southern lights. Easy. Just you need to mention कि कौन कौन से एरिया में क्या है, and these areas even if you did not know अपने से लिख लेते. Just you can imagine कि all these areas very much nearby this. ठीक है. Now the formation I mentioned, say here I can actually read it out. solar wind and charged particles would start coming from the sun. Solar wind ke through charged particles would come in and emitted from sun's corona. Then they will come. Solar winds can carry billions of tons of plasma toward the earth at speed of 2 million miles per hour. So they are coming towards earth with a great speed. Now interaction with the earth's magnetic field. When they interact, charged particles approach earth, they encounter its magnetic field which acts as a shield. Most particles are deflected, some become trapped and are directed toward the polar region. Kuch to deflected but some are trapped, and they will be, because earth's magnetic field is like this. Yes, if you can remember. Yes, this is north pole, this is the south pole. So this is how they are deflected towards it. So when they are deflected, there would be interaction, there would be reaction and increased activity. Those reaction can actually produce some light. Now collision with the atmospheric gases, all these gases will produce, for example, oxygen lower latitudes pe yellow green light it can produce, nitrogen it can say produce blue or purple. Yes, hues when it is excited or say reacted with it. Now tell me, if you just go there, I am not lying, you go there, and I can also not go in the past and say, I shared it on my channel ki how these gases interact with the how these charged particles interact with different gases and produce different results. I sent a picture there and I mentioned this is very much important from prelims point of view, just before the prelims I sent. But don't you think this prelims knowledge can also be helpful in your mains? All this data to sab aayega na use mein. If you want to, you can just type in my channel Aurora and you can just go and look at that कि मैंने share किया है कि नहीं किया. And I will also release a stamp. Okay, after this I will release another video where all these questions which I have discussed in the class only, so that it is not almost lying ki I am lying ki I have discussed all of it and these are all my students, so they will say yes. No, I will release that video also. Probably we are working on that. जैसे भी काट कुट के उसको ले आएंगे, ठीक है? So you can see कि yes, this is what we have discussed in the classes as well. Now formation of aurora's pattern, this can be in any, suppose there can be an arc, there can be a flex, there can be something like that, depending upon the geomagnetic field. It can have different shapes. Now how to end this? How to conclude this? Tell me, how to conclude this answer? Huh? Tourism, yes, ठीक है. So tourism is one thing. Probably Meet Bhatia saying also happened in India. Yes, Leh ka example you can give. Leh Ladakh mein this actually happened. That is much more on the lower latitude, but yes, it happened. So you can actually mention that somewhere in say introduction only, or say just an example somewhere. So yes, you are right, Meet. Now tell me how to. One thing you said कि tourism can be increased in those areas, but try to think larger. Yes. Yes, very good. Yes, कि these auroras can be a type of say geomagnetic storm. They can create something like that in those regions. It can be problematic. अच्छा, हाँ, tourism सब tourism बोल रहे हैं. चलो ठीक है, tourism is one thing, but in these areas ना, these aurora lights, they have a very cultural and social significance. They have festivals around it, they have celebrations around all these lights, right? So for example, in that time only tourism actually increases. So it has a lot of cultural and social significance. One. Second, because of these auroras, we actually got to understand that okay, Earth has a magnetic field. So understanding Earth's magnetic field, how it works, its formation, process, application, how it actually goes around. This we can actually understand it from aurora. So this is a larger understanding we can get from this event called as aurora australis or borealis, right? This is what I have actually included here. Okay, cultural spiritual significance hai, but research also that aurora help us understand the Earth's magnetosphere, solar terrestrial interaction and space weather as such. Yes. Boost economy due to tourism. Yes, try to move away from tourism also, Shweta. Try to move away from tourism, because tourism is one thing. See, just you one here and 3-4 more people have talked about just tourism. So if you are just talking about tourism, 3 copies, 4 copies, that exam will say, yaar, everybody is writing tourism. Ab main tourism pe number nahi dunga. So what will happen? Try to be innovative and comprehensive as well. Yes, so that you can be different from others. ठीक है? Now, this is last. This is the last one. हाँ.
Previous question, Ganges, can you mention that in the solution for the cultivation of millets? Because one of the article of the Hindu, I read there, when we cultivate rice and when we export rice, we are exporting our
Water.
also.
Yes, yes.
So we are directly decline our water resources. So can we promote their millets also? In the solution, you mentioned that.
Yes, in solution you can mention not only millets, agroclimatic agriculture. Very good. You did not have that particular word, but you meant that. I understood that. Agroclimatic agriculture. That means according to the climate and according to the agricultural condition, try to grow the crops. For example, why to grow rice in Punjab and Haryana, where they have only 75 centimeter of rainfall a year? Why do that? Right? We can more say in the interior parts of the earth, we can grow say pulses and say millets, etc. More drier region, dry land agriculture, right?
We can also link it to export policy, virtual export of water.
Virtual export of water, it is somewhere you can actually mention it say in reasons. That's a good thing, that's an innovative thing, but yes, you can mention it somewhere. Otherwise you don't have to just give it in solution. ऐसे कहीं एक जगह बोलना नहीं है. Because when you talk about virtual export of water, it's not happening only through say Ganga Valley. It's a very particular question about say Ganga Basin. It's not overall Indian groundwater as such. So try to be specific there. ठीक है? Agroclimatic agriculture is another solution which you can mention. You use this word agroclimatic agriculture, right? Don't just say pulses ugao, millets ugao, right? This would be, try to make your conclusion, as I have mentioned in our classes, try to make it comprehensive, bigger, try to be more solution based, right? So these are the solutions. Yes, you are right, absolutely right, very good. Now, twister, see, twister is something, it has been in news, say, but it is more of colloquial. This is nothing but tornado. But tornadoes, अभी इंडिया में भी एक दो आया था, very on a small scale, and also very much in Bangladesh. So here we call them as say this storm system, storm as such, or thunderstorm, or say tornado only, but in their language it is called as, yes. Now of late UPSC has started mentioning these words. For example, in geography optional once they are asked about Halloween storm. अब Halloween storm क्या है भाई? It is not pertaining to India, but it was in news somewhere, and sometimes UPSC also wants to surprise you, right? ये कुछ तो shock दें. The question is simple. Question is so simple, but you don't know its other name, so it becomes almost oblivious for you. कि पता नहीं क्या है, right? That messaging and texting वाला काम जो मैंने बताया आपको. हाँ जी. So this is like that. For example, you save someone number in your mobile phone with some other name. Only you know that, so that you don't get shocked at any point in time. Okay, fine. Now, what is a twister? It is an informal or say colloquial, primarily used for primarily used for tornadoes, which are now water type tornadoes, which are violent windstorm characterized by a rotating funnel-shaped cloud that extends from a thunderstorm to the ground. Any collision of the warm moist air with the dry cool air in the presence of low pressure system like a trough causes tornadoes. More than 1000 per year have been reported every year since 1990 in the regions closer to Gulf of Mexico. This last line makes your introduction very much contextual with the question, that it's not only about tornado, it has also included your Gulf of Mexico as such. That's this number, and this number is very famous. Whenever you read tornadoes, basic book में भी कहीं पे भी this number is given, or say it is written that USA is the most hit country, second number पे Canada is there. हाँ जी, so it is mentioned. You can say USA is the most hit country by tornadoes. Now tornadoes are nothing but a very intense low pressure system formed on the land. It can be because of anything, say because of intense heat or because there was a low pressure already existing. एक तरफ से गर्म हवा, दूसरी तरफ से ठंडी हवा, and then it makes a very much contrast. So there's a very low pressure, high pressure, the wind starts moving very fast and probably they start circling around because of Coriolis force of course, and then they will make a trunk like thing, like हाथी की सूंड है, ऐसा कुछ बन जाता है, right? So now distribution की बात करें, so it is almost absent over 50 degrees. Why? Because it is very cold, so it won't have that much of intense low pressure as such. Mostly found in tropical and temperate regions, seen except Antarctica, seen across all the continents except Antarctica, and USA has the most violent tornadoes. So these are the information which you can mention. In Indian subcontinent, Bangladesh is most prone country, most prone country. So this is what you can mention here and there, some information. Now this is a map you should have made. एक तो distribution के time पे, see here, this is the Gulf of Mexico. Majority, most of the tornadoes are found in that region, and probably the tornadoes will be found only in the tropics, not beyond that. Beyond that नहीं मिलेगा. Yes, am I right? Yes. So make this map so that it becomes very much visible to the examiner also. That these are the areas of, say, this is so much of tornadoes in that area. Now this is the structural figure of that. When you are explaining that, make this diagram. There's a low pressure, then there's a cloud spiral inflow, it keeps going up, there's a funnel cloud, it starts forming, and say over water it's also called as water spouts also. So over water, if it is formed, it is called as water spouts. Hanji, water spouts it is. Then reasons, this is the main demand of the question. So again, here we didn't take this, this is a twister, this is the one demand, and then why majority twisters observed in Gulf of Mexico. This is the second demand of the question. So first demand we address, suppose talking about this, then we have to understand why there are so many of tornadoes in these regions like Gulf of Mexico, what it has asked. The first reason is, let me explain that, in this Gulf of Mexico, the geographical location is such that it has warm moist air coming from this ocean. Gulf of Mexico say all this warm and moist air, it keeps coming toward that Missouri river valley, right? It goes toward that, and from north it is the cold wind coming towards it. So their mix probably will create a dynamic low pressure there, and it will start moving it up like a spiral thing. It also has a flat terrain. When there is a flat terrain, there is no undulation as such. Intense low pressure can be developed, because if there are undulations on the surface, तो कोई ज़्यादा गर्म कोई ज़्यादा ठंडा हो सकता है, and this will not cause the uniform pressure there. So when it is very flat, because this is a river valley, so yes, it can happen. Then meteorological condition like temperature gradient and wind shear is very high. Temperature gradient, why? Because on one side you have warm air mass, the other side you are having cold air mass. So because of that, the temperature gradient is very high. Low pressure, high pressure conditions are very high. And once the wind start moving up, the speed also increases, because every layer the speed keeps increasing. The PGF, say vertical PGF, is very high. Pressure gradient force is very high. Because of that, it keeps going up like this, very fast, right? And it is so much so that it can suck up anything from that area, loose material, anything from that area, and it can actually, yes, throw it somewhere else. Then seasonal patterns, for example, tornado season, obviously April to June, this is the month of very intense heat in India also, and that's why in these regions also, because sun is very much near the Tropic of Cancer, and that is why this is the very hot region. Hurricane, lot of in these times only, the cyclones of that region is called as hurricane. When hurricane come, they will also come with the low pressure system, and these low pressure system at times can convert into tornadoes. So this is what it is. Achha, all these things actually made them Tornado Alley. The whole area is known as Tornado Alley, because so much of conditions, suitable conditions or favorable conditions are there for tornadoes, that there would be n number of tornadoes coming in that region every year. So it becomes a Tornado Alley. So you can mention that name also. In conclusion, you can choose. For example, it provides plenty of nitrogen for the soil and water for the plants, because when it does, lot of lightning, lot of things happen. Because of lightning, nitrogen fixation can also happen, right? On a size time scale is the most effective route to transfer air from one section of the atmosphere to the other. So it also becomes a very important phenomena for the redistribution of energy. क्योंकि एक लेयर से आपको दूसरी लेयर में इतनी तेजी से एनर्जी इट इज ट्रांसफरिंग, सो द स्पीड इज एक्चुअली वेरी मच कमेंडेबल. सो द एनर्जी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. देन हेल्प इन पॉलिनेशन ऑफ सीड्स थ्रू दी मैसिव मूवमेंट है. सो हेयर एंड देयर इट कैन मूव दी से सीड्स. पॉलिनेशन का एक बहुत बढ़िया जरिया है ये. And then it also destroys old growth trees. Now if old growth trees are destroyed, then there can be opportunity for new ones, they will grow. And then known for uprooting large trees out of, okay fine, but so tell me, how are you going to conclude? How would you conclude? See, global warming, so this is the conclusion. I am saying choose 1, 2, 3 things here, try to make a combination of that. I would make, say, tornadoes are very, very important, say, atmospheric phenomenon which enable energy distribution, comma, pollination or say forestation में, comma, nitrogen fixation, comma, it can also help in habitat redevelopment as such. But from disaster point of view, they are very dangerous. So we need to make sure that they are managed very well. This is how you can end. This makes your comprehensive. This much of material I read, I say, wrote in 4 lines. That's it. This is how you conclude. और क्या लिखोगे? और क्या लिखोगे? Or probably you can say what you are suggesting in global warming, in the wake of global warming and climate change में, this can actually induce more tornadoes in those regions. So we need to be very much careful. ठीक है? तो फिर उसको भी again management point of view, applied point of view पे ही जा रहे हो आप. Right? So this is how you can actually write the answers. Probably this is the most, and you can actually connect me on, this is my Telegram channel, also I'm on Twitter, and so a big thank you everyone. So tell me if you have any question, further any question. Now there's one more question about regional disparity and diversity as such, but that will be taken by your, say, society teacher, and because it has more of, say, society, but it has a lot of content of geography as well. So this and this, one of the question I discussed, migration wala, it also have a lot of society point of view, right? So online students, please tell me how was it, did you like, if you have any question, please tell me that also. And everyone here, please tell me, this question seemed to you straightforward, simple, you could have done it. Probably not, say, in these much of content, but all these demands you understood very better. You could have written a very good answer of all these questions. Tell me, yes, it is. Yes, probably we are looking for a better future then, right? Because whatever we have done, that is good. And this is also every year, there would be fluctuation. Sometimes interlinking, sometimes very static, sometimes very current based affairs, current affairs based questions. So this will keep happening. So we need to be very much confident. Whatever we have done, that's good, right? So be confident, be happy. I am happy, right? So any question there online, or all good, all clear? Everything good and clear there? If it is, say at least bye. So yes guys, bye. Thank you very much for your patience. Thank you. Okay. Acha, it was good. Okay, fine. Chalo. Awesome session. Chalo. Bye bye. Take care. Thank you. Thank you everyone. Thank you. Bye.